Hello. Well, it's been a few weeks since I've last recorded for YouTube or Patreon, so I've been on a little bit of an adventure and not having as much access to Wi-Fi or the regular for a lot of us, I'll say creature comforts. So yeah, I have been in Mexico now for, it feels like 3 years, but I'm pretty sure it's been like a little less than 2 weeks. To be honest, the way that I just saw 101 on the timer, so that number could be relevant for someone. Today's okay. So yeah. I think I've been here 11 days. So I'm sort of staying in I'm not sure what to call it. You can call it like a version of beach camping, but it's not exactly beach camping. But yeah, let's just say very back to the basics and the bare minimum. And the beach where I am is pretty like secluded. And yeah, I'm sleeping like on sheets, on sand, and I have to say within these 11 days, I can feel like my body's going through like a huge just like reset, I guess you can say. Anyway, I just decided to share a little bit about that because I felt it. And also, there are like many other things going on. So if anyone's like interested in any of this, let me know. Maybe I'll share some more about it. But yeah, I feel like I thought maybe I would record sooner. Like when I first got here, I tried a few times, but it just wasn't the right time. And I think I just was needing to be more in like the present moment with my experience. And, like I said, my body's been going through some sort of change and, just like adapting to this environment, like a lot of sun. It's amazing. I mean, the ocean is beautiful and there's so many amazing things about it, but there's still absolutely been like an adapting period. I was actually thinking about this. I don't know, maybe some of you are going through something similar. It doesn't have to be like with your living experience or, your terrain where you like your environment, but it could be. But it felt like the first day or two I was here, it was like the first night when I got here, because I wasn't expecting this. I had somewhat of an idea of what it was going to be like, but not to the extent that it is. So I think I was just a little bit like, whoa, like the very first night I got here, it was pretty late. So that next day there was definitely like a little bit of mental like, whoa, should I stay? Or do I want to stay here? But it was still pretty internal. Like I wasn't like externally like, oh my God, but I was just having a little bit of like internal dialogue. Like, do I really want to do this? And then I would say like by day 3-4, I was like, okay, I'm getting in a rhythm. Like I already felt like I was adapting. So yeah, I don't know why like adaptation is coming up as the theme right now. So there could be something about this. Maybe you've been observing your adaptability or just the idea of adaptability from a human nature perspective. Yeah. So with the word adapt, there could be some environments or experiences, opportunities, something where perhaps that's coming forth that needs a little bit of flexibility and adaptation. I hope adaptation's a word. It doesn't sound correct, but I don't have Wi-Fi right now, so I cannot look it up. But if it's not a word, it sure feels like one. Yeah, so I'm just going to take a pause. You may hear like the ocean in the background. I'm in like the only spot that I can find where it's not windy, so that the audio doesn't get just mutilated by wind. Okay, so I'm being taken to a dream I had last night. And a neighbor who I grew up with was in the dream. I haven't seen him in years, but we were really good friends when I was little. And in the dream, he showed up and he was like, I think surprised that I remembered him or something. I don't know. Something like that. Like, he was like very nervous to like talk. And I went back to like where I'm from, my hometown. And it's weird to say hometown because I don't think of it's a city, my home city. And like where I grew up. But it was a little bit different in the dream. And yeah, I was like just looking for like a waitress. I used to serve when I was younger, like a waitress job or some sort of job. And I was going to go back to school. And there was something about like this neighbor who was there. So I'm trying to see like the symbolism to this, but it's interesting because I like this version of me, like that is not something I'm interested in doing at all. So I feel like there has to be some symbolic collective themes coming forth. Yeah, so I'm being shown like the Six of Cups in tarot, you know, like something from the past, childhood. For some of you, it could be past lives that's perhaps coming back into your reality in a new way, because it's like I went back to my home city or my hometown, but it was different, you know, it wasn't like exactly. So yeah, there could be something that feels like home is what I'm getting, that's coming forth, that, you know, feels connected to perhaps like childhood or like I said, or, you know, the past. I just heard high school sweethearts. That will probably only be for like one or two of you. But yeah, there's something about that coming forth. I'm seeing leapfrog. But God, I used to love leapfrog. That's a game if you're not familiar. Yeah, so this may involve taking some sort of leap, you know, whatever it is. So also the land that I'm on, feels, you know, it feels very, liminal. The energy's coming in so, like, I don't want to use the word slowly, but I feel like it's very slow. Oh, a bird is flying around my head right now in circles. Just came to say hi. So birds could be significant. But yeah, there's a lot of talk, a lot of talk, a lot. I'm having a hard time speaking. Wow. Okay, so there's been multiple, like, the word borders. So the person I'm staying with, he calls borders basically like maybe a word I would use for like portal or energetic vortex, or again like liminal access to liminal space. And the land that I'm staying on, it's like a beach jungle. So there's like the jungle, you know, and then the border that starts the sand, and then you walk on the sand, and then the border of the sand to the water, and then of course like the horizon when you look out into the horizon. So we've been playing with like looking into deeper of, the bird is back flying circles around my head, looking deeper into, you know, these liminal spaces. And I don't know if you're interested, maybe you've like done some research on this yourself, or maybe you've had some personal experiences, or maybe it's just something you've always felt, or if this is brand new to you, maybe it's just like, oh, maybe you're interested. If not, that's okay too. But there's a okay, I just want to see, there's something coming up, but I want to see if it's time to talk about it. Yeah, I just heard a bird chirp in the background, so I'm going to take that as yes. So like I think it was the very first night that I got here. It was the first or the second night. I was flashed this, I'm going to call it a Mayan time spiral. It's funny because I have a YouTube transmission on the Aurora time spiral, and the visual that I received was like a sundial, you know, Aztec or Mayan. There's a lot of debate when I researched on, you know, which calendar or sundial would be Aztec or Mayan or some other indigenous tribe. So I don't want to like misappropriate or, you know, mislabel anything. I can just describe what I saw and what I felt, and then, you know, I'll use words the best I can to describe, but I am not here to like claim to be an expert on like which, you know, totems or symbols, etc., relate to what specifically. Okay. All right, so it's interesting because when I went to Arkansas, and you may have heard me talk about this before if you've listened to some of my other stuff. When I went to Arkansas, I think it was like 2021-ish, 2020. Yeah, I think so. I had a similar vision, and it was a sundial. I call them sundials. I don't know if that's right. And like I said, I don't have access to internet at the moment, but you can Google. I've Googled sundial before, and it was the exact thing that I saw, or at least like very similar. So you can Google that if you want to get a visual. Maybe I'll try and include one at some point in the, like, I'll put a thumbnail, and then I'll try and insert one of those for a visual. Well, the bird is back. Okay, so anyway, in Arkansas, I was flashed one of these as well. It was circular. And the very next day, I was at a retreat. One of the retreat leaders did a presentation on this indigenous tribe that she felt connected to, and put an image up of a sundial. So I went up to her after and was like, wow, I was like shown this last night. I wonder what the significance is. She really wasn't interested to talk about it. I feel like it was kind of weird, and I was like, okay, never mind. So I just kind of left that. But so last night I had a similar vision. It was like so clear, but this time it was in a spiral instead of a circular. And it was kind of like moving in on itself, like I'm being shown like the centripetal, like Dan Winter's work. He talks about the auric field becoming centripetal, like sort of coming back to center, imploding in on itself. And it was almost like that, like it was like a circulating spiral sundial. And the encryptions, it felt very like encrypted with, of course, like lots of information, but the movement, now that I'm like really tuning in, felt significant as well. So the other day when I was walking on the beach, I like tuned into that sort of encoding and was asking to receive some information, and I was shown a lot of things, and I didn't have my phone to record it, but I'll trust that it got where it needed to go energetically. And so yeah, side note before I keep going about that, the seaweed here, allegedly it's coming in from Brazil. Like I said, I'm in Mexico. Brazil's been coming up a lot lately, so I don't know, Brazil could be relevant for someone, but there's all this seaweed. There's a proper name that everyone here calls it. The proper name for seaweed, sargass, I think it's called. So apparently there's a few people doing some projects with like utilizing the seaweed for like all this excess seaweed for turning it into something new, recycling it. I think people can make bricks out of it, using it for all sorts of things. So yeah, I don't know if anyone here is into that sort of thing. I was sitting with the seaweed, and like, this sounds so silly, but yeah, like it's crazy because you can see the new seaweed that gets washed up to shore is still bright green and alive. And then, when it's sitting, it's like lined up on the beach everywhere. It's obviously like dead or dried out. I should say dried out. So I try and put some of it back, like I felt like it wanted to be like tossed back into the ocean, at least some of it, like the green. I heard some people say like once you touch it, it's ruined. I genuinely don't know. I just am trying to, understand it better. So yeah, I don't know. I just figured I would talk about it just in case like people have ideas of things to do with this excess seaweed rushing up on shore, or if you know anything about it. I just wanted to like bring awareness to it. And they say those of us who like feel like we imprint when you start doing something or thinking about something, it can like grow in expansion. So yeah, I just power in numbers, wanted to amplify some sort of solution or understanding deeper the seaweed experience. Yeah, okay, so back to the Mayan or the sundial time spiral. So I was sort of sitting with the different epochs, and most of my connection to studying the epochs is through anthroposophy. And the guy that I'm staying with, he is more studied from like Vedic teachings and Sananda Yogananda, am I saying that right? The autobiography of Yogi lineage. So that guy. So he's more into like, how we just came out of the Kali Ma Yuga, like the dark, Kali Ma is like, if you're not familiar, more of like the dark age, and we're now on the ascent into the next, a lot of us are calling the next golden age, age of Aquarius, so, or whatever labels you'd like to give it. And I was thinking, about our relationship to time, and I was doing a little bit of looking into how the Mayan calendar is expressed, and like it's such a, if you're familiar with it, please feel free to share like your experience with it. But the way that they do the cycles, it's like they tune into such both larger cycles as well as like cycles within cycles. Like there's so many layers within the calendar, and how their relationship to time, and the movement of the celestial bodies, and how it influences like how you can best show up in the world, and like the human interaction with like the cyclical movement of time, and so just that alone, I mean, and I'm talking like I barely scratched the surface, and there's so much there. And so, yeah, I was just sort of sitting and feeling into some of the, like, I'm pausing because I think I did take a few photos that I wanted to read from, but I think I will save that for Patreon. I'll probably be going a bit deeper and crossing some of the Keylontic Science and Ascension Glossary from Lisa Renee, some of that verbiage in some of the higher ascension mechanics with the encoding of the Sundial time spiral, or the Mayan calendar time spiral, to see and just sort of tune in and see what comes through. So if that's something that interests you, yeah, I'll probably be doing that on Patreon. But and also the connection to like liminal space and the borders, like I was talking about earlier. And I'll say also the stars here. So Sian Khan is the name of the beach that I'm staying, and it has the translation apparently is origin of the sky. And I've gotten to do some amazing stargazing here on clear nights, and it's just like being in another world. We saw some activity and some things lighting up and disappearing, darting across the sky. Some of them might be satellites, but just this, like, I saw a shooting star, if that's what you want to call it. I know there's like a technical name for that as well, but yeah, so some of you could be getting more into, if you aren't already, like crystalline star bathing, like receiving emanations of light from stars. You're probably already doing it, and then it just may be adding more consciousness to it, or awareness, I should say. And even like, communication with stars, like everyone, I believe, has their own unique individual way of doing this, but sitting with starlight and just, however you feel connected to that, and seeing what comes through. Like, there might be a particular star that you feel connected to, and then you can look it up and see what more information comes through. And again, if you're already doing this, you can just take that as validation, but I am seeing some sort of like call to certain people who are ready to either deepen their connection to star communication or stargazing, etc. There's also an aspect of oh God, I'm hearing something in my head. I think it's a song or a poem from when I was a kid. It's like very famous. Starlight, Starbright. I don't know if I'm saying it right. The first Star I see tonight. I wish I may. I wish I might. Something tonight. I don't know why that's coming through, but it is. Okay. So yeah, I've also been sort of working to come up with some more offerings in terms of like in-person experiences. So I've also been spending time doing that. I don't know why I'm yawning all of a sudden. Yeah, and I feel like I'm learning a lot about like the physical body in terms of like the connection with seawater. The guy I'm staying with has like so much experience with this, and according to him, I haven't done like a fact check yet with research, but according to him, seawater is like essentially what we were born in. Like if we come through the womb, in the amniotic sac is like essentially seawater. And so yeah, he was talking about how, we drink like H2O, and apparently seawater is like 3O, which is like 3 oxygen, So I found that very interesting, and obviously it has all the like minerals and stuff. So yeah, I just figured I would share that little tidbit that has been coming up a lot lately. So there's another piece about the time, and yeah, and by the way, if you're listening to this and you're like, why is she talking so slowly? I'm telling you, like, this is just the way the energy's coming through, so you can feel free to speed me up if you know how to do that, if you haven't already, because I know that it's funny because when I went to go record, I like got a burst of energy and like just felt it was time. And then when I pushed record, it was just like so like mellow. Like the energy just feels so paced, and yeah. Okay, I feel like there's another part about the liminal space. And yeah, there's definitely lots of phenomenon. If you're not familiar, there's so much out there you can look into if that interests you about certain vortex spots or power spots. There's all these different names, and the ley lines and different spots where they meet and converge. Especially when we talk about like in Celtic science, like the Cathara grid or the crystalline grid, like these some people refer to them as like imaginary lines that sort of like lines of light that create these grids really of, there's like, they call it the organic living matrix grid, and there's also like false template grids that when I tune into like a false template grid, it almost feels like, there's like electric fences I'm being shown like for dogs, when you push like it's like you can't see it but you can feel it, and the dogs can feel it. That's what it makes me feel like when I tune into like an inorganic grid. Oh, the bird is back. Hello. Yeah. So anyway, I'll probably be getting more into that on Patreon as well, like a little bit more about the grids and how some of this may connect or weave together. But yeah, some of you maybe already be doing some sort of grid work, or you may be feeling called to start. If you're already doing this, you may be starting to feel called to do it like with more people, like in bigger groups. It's like wherever you are, it feels like there's an expansion in that, whether you're just hearing about it for the first time or whether you've been doing it for 20 years. There's something about like an expansion in that. And it's interesting because when I tune in to this, I've also been working with new for me, plant medicine a little bit this week, and that's been sort of assisting me in like I'll say anchoring in lightness, which almost sounds like counterintuitive or counter like opposites. Like anchor to me feels like when you're anchoring something, it's like holding down something heavy. But those of us who have been going through, a lot of these cellular detoxes and purges and ancestral lineage breaking, etc. Sometimes, it feels like we may carry around some of that heaviness, even if it's like not meaning to, like your body. So I feel like me coming here, honestly, a lot of it was to help. Well, there's like many, many reasons, but one of them feels like coming back to that, bare minimum nature, seawater, salt, like it's interesting that the amniotic fluid mirrors like salt water. It's like coming back to that womb space, but it's also like there's so much sun. It's like that feminine and masculine integration together, yin yang kind of energy. And it's like really focused on, there's like a certain word I'm looking for. So like really letting my cells just like release and embrace and integrate this new cycle and like truly let go of that shedding. It's funny because right before I came here, I was literally shedding, like my skin. I knew I was going through another type of transformation, especially like on the physical level, and my skin was like literally shedding like a snake. And in one of the last transmissions I posted, I talk about a little bit more of like the Kundalini movement and some of the physical things that can happen to your body. So if that's something that interests you, you can go back to the last transmission that I posted in order. I honestly don't remember what I called it right now. Layers may have been in the title. Anyway. Yeah, so this sort of feels like collectively there's this, it's like the shedding has been happening, and now there's like this, I just keep hearing like anchoring in of lightness. Really like getting to know yourself again in this new cycle and like letting this newness sort of permeate through. I've said this before, it's like clearing the cache. Like if you ever worked at the cash register, I forgot about this. You like clear the cache. It's kind of like that. And during the plant medicine experience, and I've experienced this without plant medicine. I just want to say that. And I don't want to talk too much about plant medicine at the moment because there's so much, around that right now, and there's a lot of buzz around it. And I think, I didn't even plan to do it. It just sort of showed up. And that's kind of how I treat my relationship with it. Like if it shows up and I feel it's time or a connection, but I generally don't seek it out. Of course, I think everyone's relationship to it is different, but that's a whole other conversation. And if anyone's interested in that, I would love to talk more about it. Maybe on Patreon I'll talk a little bit more about it if that comes through. But anyway, it was like the best I can describe it is like seeing life more like a watercolor painting. It sounds so whatever it sounds like, but in like watercolor, everything's a little bit more whimsical and like a little bit more fluid. There's not as much like straight edges or rigidness. It's much more like fluid, like a fluidity. So that is what I feel like all of this, now that I'm really tuning in a little bit deeper, all of the topics that have been coming through, this Mayan or sundial time spiral, connected with the borders and the portals and the liminal space, anchoring in light, more of the lightness, and just really like a time of more watercolor and fluidity and convergence of realms, like if you're someone who tunes into like maybe the Fey realms or the angelic realms, it's like those of us have been really anchoring that in, and not just, yes, we journey into these spaces and dream time and astral experiences, but it's like we're bringing a little bit more of that back with us. And something that kept coming through was the middle path, and I will talk more about this on Patreon as well. That's been coming through for months, and this week I've really been like sitting with that, and it's been showing me essentially like, and of course this is always just my interpretation of how I perceive what I'm feeling and experiencing, so I'm not here to say like this is the absolute. It's just this is a way it's expressing through me, and if it's sitting with you, then wonderful. If not, that's okay too. And I always invite whoever wants to share about their experiences or what they're perceiving. But this middle path, when I first started, it was like repeating like that phrase, and like phrases kept showing up for me over and over again. And it's been coming through in different waves of different, layers and meanings. And today, actually, it was today or yesterday, sitting with the idea of, especially talking about epochs and how, or, different ages on Earth or different evolutionary cycles. It's like when we are in, we just came from, like I said, the Kali Ma Yuga, I'm pretty sure. And that was like a descending. So like, I believe that and I know I've talked to other people who believe this too, we have like a natural ascension and descension in evolution, planets, humans, etc. They go through these natural like cycles of like other planets, like sort of like volcanoes. Volcanoes go through their different time cycles of life. Like they're dormant, they're active, they're this, they're that. They go through, I don't know the exact cycle, but anyone can feel free to look it up and share it if you want. And I believe like planets are the same way, and I felt this for a long time. And actually, I was talking about this with someone recently, and he brought it up, and he was talking about this, someone I don't see him that often, but when I do, we usually talk for a long time, and he was saying that he feels this way about planets, and he had no idea that I felt this way. Like he was just talking that he had just been going through this, and I was like, oh, that's so funny that you say this, because I feel the same way. I may have talked about it on some of my earlier transmissions, actually. And anyway, so the point of this is now, if I feel like we are on a natural ascension, we went through the Kali Ma, the dark, the descension, now we're back in the ascension, including the planet. So it feels like this sort of integration between, the descension and the ascension, there's the bird again, is flying over my head, is coming into this idea of the middle path. It's like taking some of the, and by the way, I want to say, like, I feel that, each individual person may have like different codes or different memories, different encoded DNA at different times to anchor in certain things. So, there may be a group of people who feel really called to some of the more traditional Vedic lineages that do things in that more disciplined way, or at least for a certain amount of time, and then there may be people who feel more like future oriented and tune into like what could be, and doing things that, anchoring in this like uncharted or unforaged pathways of doing things maybe a little bit more eccentrically, like very Aquarian energy, actually. So when the middle path kept coming up for me, it was sort of like, it's funny because like I'll meet people in different places, especially been since I've been like traveling and staying with different people. And it's like, oh, well, once you're back to nature, like going back into the regular world is like, ugh, like humans, like all this stuff. And I get that, but like, I feel like I'm at a place where sometimes I feel called to do things like this, where I'm totally took a leap of faith, showed up at this place, sleeping on sand, like there's no showers here. Like I haven't had a shower. I've been bathing with the seawater. Like that's new for me. Do I want to do this every day for the rest of my life? I don't think so, but I'm really enjoying it for now. It's challenging. I'm adapting, but like, I guess what I'm trying to say is like the middle path for me is very like, just because I enjoy doing things like this and my body may need this right now, doesn't mean I'm never going to, I like having glasses of wine sometimes, I still like doing things that are very human sometimes. So yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is that's for me, like what the middle path is. Like I'm here to also enjoy and have fun and not take things so seriously, but yeah, also take all of the last 4 to 5 years of like hermiting and downloading and researching and integrate that into life. And it's not always like a cut and dry process, it can be a little messy sometimes, but just going with that chaos and order and natural flow of things is sort of like, it's like energetically I've been carving out so much of that path, even though I can't see each step in front of me all at once. It's like the step appears, but I've tuned into my blueprint energetically and have been working with that. So yeah, that's just an example of how it comes through for me. But anyway, so it's like taking this descension and ascension, and like, if I had a graph, or like, it's like when you start in a circle at the top, and then you come down the circle, that's the descension. And then we're like at that point, maybe in the middle where it's starting to come back up. So it's sort of like, 2 feet, 1 foot in each one, and then your body's in the center. So you may feel pulled at different times to experience different things, whether that's like studying a certain practice or having a certain routine, and then all of a sudden you might wake up one day and be like, this isn't really working for me anymore. And for some people, it's really hard to admit that and to let that go and to, go to the next thing. So, yeah, I'm not sure that this came out the exact way I intended it to. I feel like there's just so much more. But for now, I feel like that is a good place to close out the YouTube transmission portion. And yeah, I will definitely be going deeper for Patreon into some of the things that came up. But I have a feeling that there will be much more that comes through these themes as I continue on with transmissions. And I've been saying for a while that I feel like I'm going in a new direction with the way that I'm creating content. And honestly, I still am feeling called to do it this way. So until then, I'm just gonna keep showing up like this and hope I keep learning new things along the way. I'm always open to like hear, just if anyone has requests or anything like that. I just wanted to sit. I don't know why I just saw a pineapple in my mind's eye, like a golden pineapple. I know pineapples are very significant, like symbolically. Maybe someone here has been craving pineapple. Apparently pineapple is like really good for men and like, well, really men and women, especially with like sex fluids. I don't know, there's something about like how it interacts with that area that's supposed to be really, really great. The clock was just 44:11 on the timer. Those numbers could be significant. You could be seeing like 11:44, 4s, 1s. Yeah. Also, because I was talking about the Aurora time spiral, I'm sort of just having a memory of some of my experiences with seeing I'm just releasing through the throat, how the auroras have come to me before. And that fluidity that comes with it. And I'm just being reminded of that. And also a few of the like I don't know, star signatures that have been coming through quite a bit have been the Hathors, Pleiades, Orion, Sirius. They've just been like really coming through strongly. So some of you may feel connected to that. Lyra and Elohim. I don't associate the Elohim with a star signature exactly, but that just wanted to be said. So yeah, I probably will be continuing to go deeper into some of those themes as well, if that's something that interests you. I talk about the Elohim a bit on Patreon, so yeah, you can also check that out if that's something that you feel called to, and Lyra. But the connection through, I'll just say like 1111 and the Lyra gateway. If you know and you feel that, then great. If not, you can just let that fly. Okay. There's some numbers on the wall of where I am, just in case as soon as I said that, the bird came back to do a circle and leave again. 30, 50, and 20. But 50, I see 50 3 times, so 50 could really be significant. You can look up any of those numbers. There was one more aspect that I felt coming through with, my heart just started to flutter a little bit on the right side. No, I think that's all. Yeah, just the birds. Birds just really feel significant. There's a lot of pelicans where I am. I keep seeing these pelicans everywhere. I mean, they're just everywhere, but I haven't been able to look up. I don't know much about pelicans, like symbolically, so if anyone wants to share about that, please feel free to. But the fun thing about them is that if you've seen them, the ones here, for some reason, my crown is tingling now, look almost like, just to me, I don't know, this is, they look like prehistoric. Like, I've seen pelicans in other parts of the world, but like here, they have this like, I don't know, like prehistoric, like ancient look to them. And when they fly over the ocean, and they get like they hover and then they do like the dive to get their fish. Okay, this is funny. I saw it's not really funny. I was walking on the beach and I hadn't seen a fish yet. And I wasn't even sure at first. Like, I looked down and I was like, what is that? And it was like this, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 inches long. It was a fish out of water. And in the beginning I was talking about adapting, and I just realized like the fish was out of water, and that expression, you can feel like a fish out of water. So I just realized that connection. And then I was like, oh my God, is it still alive? So I went to go put the fish back into the water. And then right as I went to go find something to help nudge it back in, the tide came in and took the fish back, and I saw it swim away. Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you so much. Like I said, if you feel called to Patreon, I will see you there. If not, thank you so much. I know I already said goodbye, but I just found something that I was going to say for Patreon, but I feel like I want to read a little bit. So in the Ascension Glossary, there was a tab labeled Grid Worker Mission, and I just wanted to read a little bit about that since I was talking about grid work. As a planetary grid worker, there are a variety of possible tasks and jobs that may be presented during phases of the starseed mission that are relative to the current planetary crisis or issues that are directly impacting the Earth body and collective consciousness at any given time. Many of us work with past, present, and future timelines simultaneously. Yes, that's exactly when I was talking about the middle path, like the presence that comes at the middle path is exactly that. Like, oh my God, this is tying it together so beautifully. Like the past, the present, and the future timelines, or epochs, like, like anchoring in into the present moment. Okay. To effect positive changes in the future evolutionary direction of humanity on Earth and beyond. We each have a personal mission directive based on our special talents and skills, and those skill sets fit into the position we have that connects our service work with the larger group in the Starseed and Indigo mission. Most planetary grid workers that are active now on the Earth have come from the future time cycle. Exactly, the time cycles. Oh my God, I didn't even know they talked about this. I didn't read this yet. I remember I saved it because I saw the title and I was like, oh, I need to save this. And I didn't know why, and now I know why. Time cycle from other star systems, universes, planets, and even from the future Earth, in order to help the lowest density fields of the Earth and humanity undergo ascension and or liberation from the NAA. As a result of the Starseed mission, many star people are more aggressively targeted with psychotronic mind control, psychic attacks, or dark interference from human or non-human sources. So when I was talking about like the inorganic grids, that's not to scare anyone. This is more just to confirm if you feel, some things that are maybe unexplainable, or maybe you are super familiar with this and this is just validation. I'm really trying to come to a place where even with some of these experiences, like, I don't want to like live in a bubble and say nothing exists like this, but I also want to be able to, I've talked about this on Patreon before, like, come to a place of empowerment instead of like a victim. And I'm not saying that if if it's part of the experience to go through that, and being a victim isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just more trying to understand it so that, we can not be so susceptible, or to understand what's going on, Okay, I left off at non-human sources in order to prevent that person from awakening and realizing their specific mission. Our service mission on the Earth is generally co-created in pre-birth agreements that are written into our light body via the core manifestation body template, or 12-tree grid. That's what I was talking about. The Cathara grid is the 12-tree grid. It also has been feeling like to me this idea of the 12-tree grid, or if you know about Kabbalah, the tree of life, has been, first there's been these like different, some people say there was like the 8-tree grid or the 10-tree grid, and I've heard people say that's like the inverted, it's not the full version. I think it like works with our consciousness. So when those of us who are anchoring in, like the 12 seen tribes, the 12 tribes, like when we anchor in these codes, more, our consciousness can hold more. It's just like when we look into the universe, the multiverse, the omniverse, like things are being discovered in the universe that have been there all along. We just weren't perceiving it. So it kind of reminds me of that. So those of us who feel called, anchoring in avatar consciousness, which is like the awakened 12-strand crystalline DNA human, original angelic human crystalline blueprint, it sort of mirrors that to me anyway. So to activate the starseed potential, many of us will be led to the law of one, 12D ray, platinum, white or rainbow field. I was just talking about this the other day. Alien implant removal, as well as the studying the 12-tree grid, in order to stimulate our spiritual awakening and consciousness memory, to activate our higher potentials or skill sets. The written instruction set, and I just want to say, that's what I was talking about, like how each of us may feel called to different rituals, different schools of thought, different lineages, different teachings. We all have something to contribute. And I went through a phase in my life, I'll say lots of phases, where it took me quite a bit to remember what really like excites me. And it was almost like, I would go with different friends over the years, or try and get into what they were passionate about. And I have a really, really close friend who, we've been friends for a really long time, and she was very passionate about politics. And I remember, like, I used to feel really guilty because, like, she would talk to me about it, and I'd be like, why? I'm just not, like, I would go with her to events. Like, I really tried to get into it. And I realized then, like, I want to support her, and I would listen and, But that wasn't what excited me or what, I felt passionate about. And I thought, oh my God, like I'm such a terrible person. Like, why don't I care about these things? Yeah. So if you're someone who's gone through that or you're going through that, the exploration phase of like, this is talking about like remembering what, I feel like it's just part of the process. And I do help people with that in sessions. So you can always reach out to me if you want to book a session to go deeper, because I know what that's like. Okay. In order to simulate, oh, nope, I already read that. The written instruction sets. So sometimes we talk about the Rasha body, and there's someone, Becca, on Soul Based Life YouTube. She talks a lot about the Rasha body in depth, and that came through my channel, Rasha, like a little bit before I think I found Becca. And then I found Becca, and she was talking so much about, from Soul Based Life, about the Rasha body. So then I started going deeper with that as well, in my perspective. And the instruction sets come from like the dark matter template or the Rasha body. Okay, so the written instruction set included in our light body contains the information that defines our consciousness history, blueprint, star origins. It's funny, I was talking about Sian Khan is the, I think I said origin star sky star origin, something like that. Spiritual purpose and role with the earth to serve the divine source plan for activating the higher evolution potentials for all humanity. As an example, a planetary grid worker mission may include such tasks as, and then there's some bullet points: providing conduit while in a body for higher frequency transmission, or for the direction of running energetic currents working to align the multidimensional connection and correction of the many planetary grid networks. So when I was reading that, I kept hearing telluric currents. So someone here may feel called to or may already be working with telluric, Telluric, I believe. The physical body acts as an acupuncture point for the earth to run higher frequencies and DNA star coding for a variety of positive applications. Traveling to assigned locations or remote viewing to observe consciousness records or energetic signatures, which I was talking about star signatures, and I feel like that communication we receive from stars also assists with this as well, for sure. Signatures that manifest impacts in the Earth's holographic light body to view false or real timelines inserted into the field that reveal the historical record of the planet. Track the source of major trigger events in the timeline, such as tragedies, war, Holocaust, genocide, blood sacrifice. You know what's interesting about blood sacrifice? That was coming through some. Now, this is a little bit, if you don't want to hear anything that's a little bit more, not all just love, light, and rainbows, then you can fast forward. But I don't even remember how I tuned into this, but there's something about some of the like Stonehenge or some of the stone circles. Like, I believe most things in the earth plane, right, have a dualistic experience, like light and shadow, if that's what you want to call it. And yeah, apparently they were used for like blood sacrifice in certain stone formations. So yeah. Okay, what else? Abduction. Okay, so then it just goes on to list these different programs of, recollect accurate historical records, recognize the time fields, measure energetic implants, and track causality of these events. And then there's more, but that's where it cut off in the photo I took. So I just wanted to add this in because it felt extremely relevant. And yeah, that's like a taste of a bit more of what I do on Patreon as well. Like I'll bring in some of readings and some of my own channel that will then bring through information and experiences, stories, whatever comes through. Okay, I'm officially done this time. Thank you. I lied. I just wanted to also note that I am ending this at 1:11, the last recording. I've stopped at 1:11. I didn't even realize. So yeah, 1:11 could be significant.